So recently, one Mr. Greg Doucette, I don't think he needs any introduction on this channel, had a video out about coaching. So do we agree? Do we disagree? Or do you need a coach at all?
So the more educated the person is, the better.
His first point is that the more education, the better. So you have people with only certifications or certificates, then a bachelor's degree, then a master's degree, then a PhD. But it's not a slam dunk by any means. There are people who have PhDs and tons of certifications and they're CrossFit level 18 certified and tons of stuff, and they are shit coaches. Okay, they are not effective at all. And then there's other people who have really no qualifications or certifications or anything, any pieces of paper or letters after their name at all, no PhDs, and they are very effective. So I would say in general, there's going to be a trend between more education and being a better coach, but not always. However, that might be my personal bias. He is a master's, I don't have anything, and therefore our perspectives are completely different.
Next is experience. Do they have personal experience in doing what you're looking for? Are they a power lifter? If you want to power lift, are they in fact a power lifter? If you're a bodybuilder, have they done bodybuilding competitions?
Actually, I completely agree with this one. If someone comes to me and they want to compete in a bodybuilding show, I typically refer them to someone else. And if they insist on working with me, I tell them, this is not my area of expertise, I've never competed before, and it's going to be a sort of work in progress. Same thing for powerlifting. I do work with people who are stronger than me, which is not saying that much, by the way. But I tell them, hey, I'm not a powerlifting coach. Maybe there are better options. And again, if they insist on working with me, we can take things from there.
If they have coached others, how many? And what do those people say about the coach?
And one thing I've seen quite a bit are really new or young coaches. You know, people who are 16, 17, 18 years old, and they are coaching online. To me, this seems a little bit strange, just because there's no way you have the personal experience yourself in order to coach effectively. At 16, 17, 18 years old, you are absolutely still learning, and therefore, you're not really going to be able to coach effectively. I started coaching, I wrote my first 100 training plans for free. Just word of mouth, people would refer each other, and I would do it for free because I had a sort of imposter syndrome, and I'm like, oh, I've never coached anyone, I've never written plans, so I'll just do it for free to get experience. Most people won't do that. So if you're getting a coach, especially if they're young, if they're new to it, be careful.
What I suggest is to do your own research, find out who they've coached, and ask them directly. You'll get the honest truth of what they think.
Also keep in mind, a lot of testimonials online are bullshit. If you see something on someone's website and it's like a review, a 5-star kind of thing, and like a transformation, all of that can be faked. Every single transformation can be faked. I'm not saying all are fake, but it's possible to do a lot of stuff that isn't real. And so just because you see like a glowing review on their website, that doesn't mean anything.
One thing that people always bring up is how long it took for other coaches to get back to them.
Yeah, it should take 24 hours at the very most. If you're an online coach, working weekends should sort of be the norm. It's not hard to respond to people on email or social media, and there's really no excuses for having a 24-hour response time. If not, faster. A week is just absurd. That is a ridiculous amount of time. That's not coaching. That's like a pen pal or some shit.
I had a question and a week later they responded. A week later, 2-3 days later. That's unacceptable.
On the other hand, you shouldn't expect a response in 5 minutes every single time, just because that's not really very reasonable. So if you're about to have a meal or you're in the middle of a workout and you're like, should I go up and wait? That's not really online coaching.
Another important thing to find out is, do your ideologies match with your coach?
I actually disagree with this. I have plenty of clients who are vegan, yet I am not vegan. I have plenty of clients who train like a powerlifter, whereas I don't typically train like a powerlifter. So just because they don't do exactly the same thing as you, that doesn't mean they can't effectively coach you, particularly if they have a brain.
Next, do they offer you a questionnaire? If they're not asking you questions, prying into your personal life, finding out things, how can you expect them to give you a customized and detailed coaching plan?
So they should have a questionnaire and not like a V-Shred body type quiz questionnaire where it's like 3 or 4 or 5 questions. It should be pretty detailed. I make my questionnaire publicly available. It's not like it's some secret, and this might actually help you out. Even if you don't go for any coach, knowing what kinds of questions that a coach asks will allow you to ask yourself the same questions, which is very, very helpful. I've had clients who said that even just filling out the questionnaire was a very useful practice. So I would say check this out and just ask yourself these questions, because this is what actually matters for getting results.
Treat it as something serious, not something to get over with in 15 minutes. Spend an hour, 2 hours answering that questionnaire, because the more information you give that coach, the better plan they're going to be able to create.
Completely agree. And I've gotten questionnaires where I asked them their training history and they said something like, I have trained for 3 years. That doesn't really help write a custom plan. On the other hand, I've gotten questionnaires back that were 15, 20, 30, 40 pages long. Longest one ever, 56 pages. And I read every single word, and I had a deep insight into who they were as a person and as an athlete. And that's how you can actually coach someone effectively and write them an actually customized plan. But if your questionnaire is like 1 sentence per question, it's really going to be hard to write a custom plan or for them to coach you effectively. So put in the work. It is a two-way street.
All too often, I'll have someone, I'm 20% body fat. I want to get to single-digit body fat 2 or 3 months.
So yeah, I've actually seen this a lot, and I've had people who are 40, 45% body fat or even higher, and their goal is 5 to 9% body fat. That's not realistic. That's not going to happen. And even if it does happen, it sure as shit won't be sustainable. If it was like 20% body fat, fair enough, but 5 to 9% body fat is super freaking lean. And so a lot of people, they don't actually know what reasonable expectations are. And part of being a coach is saying, all right, well, let's get to here first and then see where we are. It's not just saying, sure, 5% body fat, few weeks, no problem, just send over the money. No, you should be real with a client in what is actually possible. Coaching is not magic.
Better to set realistic goals, realistic expectations, and actually achieve those. Then once you achieve those, maybe then you can increase the goals.
I always ask clients their goal physiques. And often I get like Hollywood shredded superstars, they want to look like Wolverine or Captain America or something like that. If you have a very small frame, you're not going to look like Captain America. It's just not going to happen.
They just say, trust the process. You're wanting a change, they need to make a change.
I actually disagree with this. Yes, the coach should answer any questions you have extremely promptly. That is their job. You are paying for access to their brain. So they shouldn't just say, oh yeah, that doesn't matter, or like, oh, don't worry about that. They should answer any questions you have. But just because you want to change the plan, that doesn't mean they should automatically change the plan. In a lot of industries, the customer is always right. Online coaching, that is not one of those industries. And often, if a client wants to change the plan every single week because they're used to doing like CrossFit style of training, that doesn't mean it should be changed. So sometimes the client is wrong.
It's quite another for the coach to encourage you to start using PEDs when you don't need to.
I've heard stories about this where a complete beginner contacted an online coach and they were like, here's my training plan options, here's my diet plan options, here's my PED plan options. And they knew they were a beginner and they're just like, yeah, here's the PED options.
Thanks. I needed that.
Or they were just like, take testosterone. Like, take this or you won't get results. Take this or there's no way you'll make progress. And that is ridiculous because for almost everyone, you can make very, very good progress without drugs. And so a lot of coaches, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're doing. The only resource that they have is drugs. And guess what? Yeah, their clients do get good results, but it's a shame. It really is a shame because often they weren't needed. And often it wasn't really the right choice for them. They were just pressured into it because of their fucking coach.
3 months changes. Wow, amazing. Everyone sees those transformations, say, I want to hire that coach because look what they did. Meanwhile, they're on the Decaritos and Nandroloni sandwiches.
Yeah, so not every transformation that you see is real. There's a lot of Photoshop going on. Second, a lot of them, they just rebound. Okay, so they get this amazing transformation. They gain muscle, they lost fat, they got shredded. Everyone looks better shredded, right? Everyone looks more impressive shredded, especially in the right lighting, the right angles, the right pump, whatever. But what about 6 months later? What about a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later? A lot of these transformations, they're just gone. They transformed back to how they looked like before. Not worth it.
They're abusing PEDs, getting amazing results. Then you talk to them on the phone, a female client, and you're thinking that's a man because they've changed their voices because of the drugs they've been given.
Hey, baby, I wanna butter your bread.
But the coach can continue to post those pictures, those transformations, and dupe you into thinking that they're the best coach on earth. And dupe you into thinking that they're the best coach on earth. And dupe you realize you need to tell them what you're comfortable with and not comfortable with.
Yeah, also do your own research. So any compound that a coach would ever give you, do your own research, okay? Dosages, compounds, side effects, cycles, everything. Especially with that side of the sport, you really should know what you're doing. Don't just completely outsource this to some guy on the internet. You need to take accountability and responsibility as well.
And what about cost? Well, obviously you need to be able to afford the coach. If they're coaching prices like mine, maybe it's out of your price range.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit. But also, on the other hand, if it's too cheap, be careful. Real coaching takes time. Some clients send me 15, 20, 25 minutes of workout footage per day. And it takes a lot of time to go through. So if someone is charging like $50 a month for coaching, or even like $100 per month for coaching, something is really, really wrong. Especially if they have a large social media presence, which means their demand is going to be high, in which case that just doesn't add up at all. Okay, so if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. I've had people who are like, this guy's charging super cheap, I'll go with him instead. I'm like, all right, have fun. And then a few months later, they contacted me and they're like, oh yeah, that was bullshit. Also keep in mind, some piece of shit influencers will outsource their coaching without actually telling you. I've been contacted by services who say, Geoff, give us access to your DMs and we will take care of all the client acquisition, all the coaching, everything, and you will get a large cut of the proceeds. It's basically free money. Fuck that. That is extremely deceptive, and it's way more common than you think. So just because your coach is talking to you, it doesn't mean it's your coach.
Go to someone else. Get the best quality coach that you can afford. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Not everyone can afford the best coach on the planet.
On the other hand, don't conflate price with value. Many things in the world are extremely expensive and are not worth the money. In fact, they might be worse than something that is less expensive. During the first G-Shred thing, the first G-Shred saga, when my book was only $8, a lot of people were like, of course his book is shit, it's $8. And they don't actually realize that, maybe the price and the quality are not always exactly correlated. Some things are just less expensive and yet are still fucking awesome. And some things are super expensive and complete dog shit.
Do you really think that person's going to be able to coach hundreds of you in detail, give customized plans? No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, exactly. So if someone is very famous, they are probably very, very busy. So for example, More Plates, More Dates, he used to have a $1,000 30-minute consultation on his website. He no longer offers that because his time is more valuable than that. He is personally worth more than $2,000 per hour. So he doesn't even offer that anymore because he could make a video that will get 100,000 views, 200,000 views, 500,000 views, which will get more in ad revenue and drive sales as well as his brand, as well as social media growth, everything. And so if you are on that upward spiral of social media growth, coaching suddenly becomes less and less worth it. And most people who get big, they stop coaching.
You have a PhD, you've coached thousands of clients who look amazing. Just because you don't look the part doesn't mean you don't know what you're talking about.
So you are buying access to someone's brain. That's what coaching is. You're not buying access to their physique. Just because someone looks amazing, that doesn't mean they can necessarily help you to look amazing. If you have great genetics and you're using drugs, someone can look amazing and yet know very little. Again, you're buying access to this, not this. On the other hand, how you look does matter. I get other online coaches asking me about like client acquisition, all that other stuff, which I don't focus on at all. I don't really need to. And I always say like how you look does matter. If you have very little muscle and a pot belly and you're like, hey, I'm an online coach, you're going to be laughed at, and rightfully so.
And on the other hand, you can hire an IFBB pro who's shredded year round, who knows nothing about what they're doing.
They don't necessarily need to look amazing, but they should somewhat look the part at a minimum. We all have different genetics, different hormonal, pharmaceutical choices, but you should at least somewhat look the part, right? If someone has, no muscle and they're like, hey, buy my arm training program, your reaction should be, what the fuck?
Hopefully this helps in your search for a coach. Remember, Coach Greg and my team, we do customized plans for you. If you're interested in getting a coach, please check out my website.
One of the biggest mistakes I see is overpaying. If you're paying $39,000 per year for coaching or $1,000 for a custom training plan that's outsourced to people working for minimum wage, you are a fucking idiot. Don't conflate price with value. They are absolutely not the same, especially in the fitness industry. Free market, he can charge whatever he wants, but we also have something called freedom of speech. Do your homework. Do your research. And realize there is a lot of free information out there. So if someone is framing it as like an investment in your health, maybe it is. But you can get that investment, that return, for free in a lot of cases. So if you're on the fence about coaching, get off the fence and just get the information for free. In a lot of cases, you don't need to pay anything at all. And if anyone ever contacts me and they're like, yeah, I don't know, like, let me pay the rent first this month. No, coaching is not for you. It is a luxury product and not needed in a lot of cases. Finally, you are paying for access to someone's brain. So make sure you access the right brain. And two, make sure you actually access it. If you're not actually asking your coach a lot of questions about the process and about how to get better, you are wasting that coaching. So just because you pay for something doesn't mean you get anything actually out of it. All right, that's all for today. Like, subscribe, share, all that good shit, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.